Kamala Harris decided to go on the Breakfast Club, and she was presented the same question Cory Booker was presented. Did she have a black agenda? Now, Kamala Harris has been getting that work from many people on social media, calling her out about her record, calling her out about she refused to say that she's black. Many people don't like what happened with the women with the truancy case. Many videos have been out about Kamala, so they have been scrambling because she is the pick that they want to go against Donald Trump. That's just easy to see based on the companies that gave this woman money already for her campaign. Now, I want you to listen to the same question that she's going to be presented like Cory Booker, but I want you to hear exactly her response to it. Let's go ahead and roll that clip.
So I wanted to ask, with Barack Obama, when he was in office, a lot of African-American people felt like he didn't do anything for black people. Yeah. They felt like he did everything for, the LGBT community. He did things for, Spanish community, Latinos, but nothing for African-Americans.
Yeah, so do you have an agenda for black voters?
Of course I do, but I also want to stand up for Barack Obama on that because, first of all, none of us can do enough, and we all know that. If you are a parent raising a child, we can never do enough.
Right.
As leaders, we can never do enough. It's important to acknowledge that. But let's also give people credit for what they've accomplished. I was just meeting yesterday and the day before with the presidents and chancellors of HBCUs. And we were talking about how under the Obama administration, for example, they extended Pell Grants, right? Which our kids really rely on to get them through school.
Right. And
extended it so it wouldn't just be for the school year, but through the summer. We can talk about what under President Obama happened in the Holder Justice Department around getting rid of the mandatory minimums, and in particular the crack and powder cocaine disparities, and also those investigations, pattern and practice investigations, so much. So, and a continuation of that would be part of my agenda. The black agenda has to include HBCUs and looking at the historical fact that when the federal government gives attention to HBCUs, we end up having a profound impact on black people in America. I think the numbers are something like almost 60% of black professionals in America have come from HBCUs, either in undergrad or graduate school. So that is part of it. Part of it is what I was describing about focusing on families that are making less than $100,000 a year. Part of it is focusing on what we need to do around reform of the criminal justice system, understanding that the mass incarceration policies of this country have led to black and brown men in particular being incarcerated at ridiculous rates, proportionate to their representation and proportionate to the fact that when you look at similarly situated other people, they're not getting arrested and prosecuted and sentenced to the same kinds of numbers. There's what we need to do around also dealing with public health matters. One of my initiatives in a bill I have is around maternal mortality. Black women are dying at 3 to 4 times a higher rate in connection with childbirth in America. And it's tragic because when you look at it, this is not an issue of the educational level of these women. It's not an issue of their socioeconomic situation, right? Look at Serena. Look what happened. It literally is about racial bias in the healthcare delivery system.
Now, Kamala easily said, yes, I have a black agenda. And people will be like, what? Kamala said that? Well, just hold on. We got to hold on real quick with that, because they've been talking to Kamala and they told her, listen, hey, you better say you got a black agenda. You better say you for reparations or anything else that those black people want. We need them to vote against Trump, because without them, not only your campaign is going to sink, but we're not going to get any chance anymore for the presidency. Because the Democrats right now know they're not stupid. They know we're not pleased with them. They know that we're calling them out. They hear us all the time talking about a black agenda. They hear us talking about not caping for anyone anymore. They hear all that. Trust me, they're on social media listening right now to what we're saying, okay? But let's go through the few things that Kamala talked about. First thing she said in her black agenda would be HBCUs. That is not the top of the priority list for a black agenda, a HBCU. That is something that she should be promoting just on the strength, because she went to Howard. So why wouldn't you want HBCUs to be taken care of? So that's not part of a black agenda, but she say that's her black agenda, okay? Now, she also stated about criminal justice reform and powder cocaine versus crack cocaine. The issue with that is the majority of African Americans aren't criminals. So that's going to affect a small portion of our population. And a lot of those brothers and sisters that have been railroaded in that is definitely something they will be interested in. And I'm not saying that's not an issue, but you can't just say that's part of my black agenda, because what about the rest of us who aren't out here being caught up in a situation like that? You should have never tried to put more time on a person for crack cocaine versus powder cocaine. I mean, we all know that was targeted to black people. She also stated that she will focus on families that make under $100,000. She's talking about her LIFT Act, where she claims that she's going to get 60% of African Americans out of poverty. The reason why I'm going to say that sounds good, but that's really BS, because you literally have to change the system that's operating right now to stop discriminating, to stop being violent toward us and harming us, for us to come out of poverty at the rate of 60%. What concessions are you going to give African Americans to make sure that happens? So you saying your one bill is going to take more than half of black people in poverty and put them in a good position? I'd definitely like to see the detailed plan how you're going to do that. Because you're going to make employers hire black people? Like, what are you going to do to make sure that happens? Then she stated that about black women, their rates when it comes to having children, a lot of black women are dying. Now, that is something that should be part of the black agenda, taking care of black people, black women, right? I support that portion of it because it is alarming what's happening with black women. Now, she also said something that really stood out to me. She said the black agenda is America's agenda. She basically said what Cory Booker stated the other day, but just in a different way. When he said about, we got to focus on all Americans. That's the exact same thing. She just said the word black agenda and made sure to say it's America's agenda. So she's been talked to. Trust me. She is trying to do whatever she can to get elected. And she knows that I need to get this black vote. I better be on this Breakfast Club agreeing to everything. In the interview, they talked about reparations. She says she supported.
Where do you stand on some form of reparations for black people? Because you see Mayor de Blasio saying the marijuana economy could be a form of reparations. Marianne Williamson says black people should get $100 billion in slavery reparations. Like, where do you stand on it?
Well, look, I think that we have got to address that. Again, it's back to the inequities. Look, America has a history of 200 years of slavery. Mm-hmm. We had Jim Crow. We had legal segregation in America for a very long time. The Voting Rights Act was only strong for 50 years, and then they wiped it out with this United States Supreme Court in the Shelby decision, to the point that 22 states immediately thereafter put in place laws that one court found were crafted with surgical precision to have black people not be able to vote. So we've got to recognize, back to that earlier point, people aren't starting out on the same base in terms of their ability to succeed. And so we have got to recognize that and give people a lift up. And there are a number of ways to do it. Part of my initiative, again, around the LIFT Act is that same point, lifting people up who are making less than $100,000 a year. What I want to do about rent is the same thing. What we need to do around education and understanding disparities, what we need to do around HBCUs. But we have a history of racism in America.
So you are for some type of
Yes, I am.
reparation? Okay.
Yes, I am.
but she did not at all give a monetary amount or a plan how she going to disperse reparations. At least Marianne Williamson, the other woman that's running for president, not only did she give a number, which is $100 billion, which to me is a down payment. That's not all the reparations that we're owed. She also put how she was going to disperse the money and everything on her website. Kamala just, I guess today, saying she support reparations. So if she's at this point now, ladies and gentlemen, she's going to say whatever it is to get elected. I want to see this black agenda on her website. That's what I want to see. I want to see it detail what policies she's going to put in for African Americans. We're not no people of color. We're not no minorities. We took off our capes. We ain't caping no more. It's time for us to look out for self. Like everybody else look out for self. It's time. Nobody gonna shame us into looking out for others, because no one looks out for us. It's just that simple. We are on our own. So Kamala, you can do all what you're saying. I've seen the thumbs up, the thumb down ratio, and people really didn't like that interview from you at all. They did not, because a lot of people feel that really you being fake with a lot of things. Because what you did as a prosecutor, it's not that you being a prosecutor was the issue. Kamala, you know exactly what you done as a time of being a prosecutor. You know what you done. And you just want to be honest to why people have an issue with you. It's not that anything will do with you being a prosecutor. And I think that's very dishonest when you know good and well why people take issue with you. It has nothing to do with you being a prosecutor. Now, you was a prosecutor that didn't want to let people out of jail. But now you're on the Breakfast Club talking about trying to get rid of the cash bail. I mean, come on, Kamala. I mean, you got to do better than that. You got to do better. Now, I'm not saying she can't turn herself around. I'm not saying that she can't listen. But one thing I want y'all to pay attention to, they all are listening to what we say on social media. They're not taking their cues from MSNBC. They're not taking their cues from Fox News, CNN, etc. The narrative that we collectively have put out on social media is what they have to repeat. So understand something. We are the leaders now in social media, not them. They're repeating what we're talking about on social media. We're not repeating what they're talking about. And they have no choice but to hold Kamala Harris or anybody else foot to the fire. I don't care who running. It don't matter to me. I don't believe that we all should just come at Kamala and Corey. Oh no, Elizabeth Warren, she just talked about she's running. What's your black agenda, Elizabeth Warren? Okay, we already talked about Marianne Williamson. Anybody that's running, what is your black agenda? You don't have one, you're not getting a vote. It's just that simple. The situation with Trump don't scare us. We've been dealing with a Trump all our life. So what's another 4 years of Trump? That's where we at with it. You gonna give us something. It's just that simple. Well, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about this particular story with Kamala Harris. Now, after you have heard what she stated, have your opinion changed about her? And would you vote for her on Election Day?